Hello, math class. Okay, today we're going to talk about how to divide. And the method that I'm going to teach you is really sort of what a lot of my students have told me is kind of the American way to divide. So if you find that it's different than the way that you originally learned how to divide in your country of origin, and it is more cumbersome for you to do it this way, that I'll leave it up to you. You know, Heidi and I'll leave it up to you on whether you want to use this way or the original way that you learned how to divide in class. But I want to be sure to show you how this way to divide goes, because a lot of the handouts and everything will be using this format. And basically the steps to remember how to divide are DMSBR, okay? And that stands for divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and repeat, okay? So let's look at an example problem and kind of look at how we do this. So sometimes a multiplication problem, or a division problem is pretty easy. It's basically a multiplication fact rewritten, right? So 5 divided into 45 goes 9 times, and I know that because I know that 9 times 5 is 45. So if I know my multiplication facts, then I can divide really easily. If we refer back to our little thing though, okay, so I divided. Well, now I multiply. So I take 5 and I times it by 9, and then I write that answer underneath. It equals 45. Now I subtract. I do my third step. 45 minus 45 is 0. And then I'm supposed to bring down. I don't have anything to bring down, and so I repeat. Actually, at this point, I'm done. Let's look at a more complex problem. What happens if 5, and I want to divide it into 48? So again, what's the closest that it can go in? The closest multiple that can go into 48 without going over. Well, it's just like the last problem, right? It's 45. But see what happens when I do this? When I multiply, so I divide it in. Now I'm going to multiply 9 times 5, 45. I write that under here. And now I subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. There's nothing for me to bring down. So what I'm left with is a remainder. Okay, a remainder, a leftover little bit that I'm actually going to go like that too. So 48 divided by 5 equals 9, remainder 3. That's what this stands for. Okay, so the remainder, I just go whoop and write him up there with an R. Let's again look at another more complex problem. Okay. Oop, this one that's an 8 right there. Now I'm going to divide 6 into 822. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit more complex because I can, I don't know how many times it goes in completely, right? I don't know off the top of my head. I pretty much know 6 times 12, and that's as many of my multiplication facts as I know. So I can break the division problem down into smaller pieces. I'm going to use a piece of paper here and cover up part of our problem, okay? 6 can go into 8. How many times can 6 go into 8? Well, it can go 1 time, right? So that's my divide step. Now I'm going to multiply. 6 times 1 is 6. So I write it underneath. Now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2, right? Now this is the first time that we've encountered bring down and actually had something to bring down. I'm going to slide my piece of paper over to expose this other 2. This is what I'm going to bring down. So 6 into 22. How many times can 6 divide into 22? I am not sure. 3, right? That'll get me close. Because 6 times 4, I would go over. All right, so 6 times 3 gets me close to 22. It's actually 18. That's my multiply step. Now I subtract. 22 minus 18 is 4. And now I bring down again. So I slide my paper over. I expose the last number here. And I make a 42. So now I divide again. Oops, I'm going off the screen, aren't I? There we go. Now I divide again. 6 can go into 42 how many times? It can go 7, right? 6 times 7 is 42. That's my multiply step. Now I subtract. 42 minus 42 equals 0. I don't have anything more to bring down, right? I'm all done. There's nothing there. And so at this point, I would usually repeat, but I don't repeat, and I don't have a remainder because that's a 0. So my answer is 822 divided by 6 equals 137. Let's look at another example. 6 into 814. So again, I can deal with it in small chunks. I'm going to cover up the 1 and the 4 and just go kind of one number at a time and ask myself my DMSBR. Okay? Can I divide 6 into 8? Yes, I can. How many times can 6 go into 8? Well, it can go once. And then I multiply, right? 6 times 1 is 6. And now I subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. And now I bring down. That's funny. 6 goes into 21 3 times, right? Which is 18. So that was my divide and my multiply step. Now I'm going to subtract. 18, 19, 20, 21 goes, I have 3 left over. Now I'm going to bring down. How many times can 6 divide into 34? That's my divide question. Well, I know it can go 5 times because 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, that's my multiply step. And now I subtract again. I have 4 left over. So there's nothing more for me to bring down, and I can't repeat, so it must be my remainder. So my answer to 814 divided by 6 is 135 remainder 4.